Ask Redditors. What black market did kids at your school run? Please subscribe, leave a like, comment and share the video to help the channel. These little game coupons that our teacher gave out for winning class quiz games. Right when people were starting to get scanners/printers in their own homes, some kid made copies of his coupons and sold or traded them to other students. Edit. Since I have some people asking what the coupons could be traded for, it was usually a piece of candy or a pencil with a fun print or something similar. I think the kids ended up getting caught like 2 weeks into the scheme. Nintendo games. Some kid sold them off for like 10 or 15 bucks a pop. I don't know where he got them from, but he said he just told his dad what he wanted, and his dad would get it for him. He'd ask for the same ones over and over, and it didn't matter. He'd end up with 5 copies and he'd just sell 4 of them. Either the kid was the most spoiled brat in history, or his dad was straight up stealing them anyhow. Anyways, I could never get any. I had a Sega, but I remember that kid making a killing in grade 3. I would buy 6 packs of soda for $1.79 and wrestle the 6 sodas for a total of $3. MP3s and CDRs were just becoming available. A guy I knew made a killing on mixed CDs. Every week he circulated forms to fill out where you selected the songs you wanted on the CD. The newest hits were on the top and changed weekly. The rest of his library filled the rest of the form, and there was a space for requests. He'd deliver your disc the following week. He seriously made bank for a couple years until everybody started getting their own songs from LimeWire or whatever. I don't know what he's doing now, 20 years later, but I don't doubt he's successful. Edit. Just as a bit of an aside, since a few responses have mentioned LimeWire, when this guy started doing it in HS, the only real avenues for music sharing were Usenet groups and Ike. Apart from the 20 minutes before the morning bell rang where everyone crowded around the front of the school being an open-air drug market, there were always dice tournaments. The rules were 2 people put down X amount of money on a game, then both people rolled 2 dice at the same time. Whoever got 7 or 11 first won the money. The winners of the first rounds would play each other for the amount of money they won in previous games. This went on until the bell rang, or it was broken up by teachers/school administrators. Things often continued in the afternoon after school let out. So many people got detention and suspended for repeat gambling. Looking back, it was hilariously stupid how much money was won and lost on a game of pure luck, and the sheer number of people who got in trouble for it. Yes, I was one of them. Marbles were big at my primary school. Real big. It got to the stage where they were only allowed for 3 months a year, as we would no longer discuss anything but the game we had other make we wanted to pay for. That was marble season. Now you could buy a big bag of cat's eyes from the supermarket, but they wouldn't get you far. To play the high stakes games, you needed a spec egg, a glitter bomb, a tidal wave or something exotic, but those suckers were pricey. Us poor kids couldn't afford those things, so we secretly gambled our marbles through the year, so when marble season opened, we had amassed enough marbles to really be ahead of the game. Being caught with marbles outside of marble season was bad. Real bad. One kid got 5 strokes of the cane. This being so, it was a big risk to hide in the shadows of the trees and sling those little glass balls about. Not only did it hone your skills for the season start, but you got good at taking the shot and then acting nonchalant. Marbles were currency. You could trade lunches with them or buy time on playground equipment. There was a good reason they banned marbles at my school. We turned it into some sort of mafia shit. I lived in an area with a lot of retiree age people, a lot of which ended up raising their grandchildren. It really isn't a good area. Being older and from a rural area, they still don't trust online sites like eBay or Amazon. So I started ordering people things from those sites for actual money and added a charge for me to be making money off of it. It eventually got shut down because I got someone a USB in the shape of a pistol. It was the size of a USB and clearly a USB, but it didn't matter. The principal actually got the police involved to try to get me in real trouble. Apple laptops in middle school. Some had iTunes, some didn't, and the kids wanted it. So I apparently was the only one who knew how to transfer the installer with my USB. I put it on everyone's laptop for gifts, favors, etc. in return. Got caught by the sub that day. I told her it was my flash drive, I could do what I wanted with it. And that's how I got my second detention of my life. I have family in New York and would go visit a couple times a year back in high school. Every once in a while we'd visit Chinatown in New York City and I'd end up buying $100s worth of fake watches, Rolex, Tag, Guxi, etc. Return to school and sell them for double than what I paid for them. I ran it for a few spare years in elementary. Books got banned in the classroom. Not blacklisted books, but literally books in general. They were far too distracting, even though most kids read when done with work, etc. I started smuggling books to school and peddling them out to kids. It started out innocently. I had loads of Hank the Cowdog books that I was super into, and I hid them in my desk and I loaned them to close friends when asked. But soon, the entire class knew, and that spread to the school. I became a full-time book smuggler. I had a system where there was a 2-week borrowing limit, kept a log of who/what book/when, ran a teensy little library for myself, basically, and I made sure these kids were treating the books fairly. If anything came back damaged, they were banned from borrowing. Kept this up until middle school, which was considerably less totalitarian. Edits, spelling, sorry, mobile. Edit 2, thank you for the silver and gold, holy crow. I'm about to hop off, but I'm glad some people got a genuine smile out of this. It's probably the only really interesting thing I've ever done, so this made my whole day. I hope everyone has a lovely one. 2 years ago I was a sophomore in high school, and freshmen weren't allowed to go off campus but everyone else was. So I'd take orders, go to the local fast food shops, and get the goods. I'd up the price by about $2 and ended up making about $200 over the course of the year. At my school they took all sweets out of the vending machines and replaced them with healthy snacks. In the local town there was a sweet shop where you could buy a kilo of mixed sweets for £5. So every week I would go there and buy 1 pound of small paper bags and spend the Sunday night before school repackaging them all ready for the week ahead. Come Monday I would go into school and load my bag up every day selling the bags for 50p. Slap bracelets. Small southern town with just a Walmart and 1 or 2 small clothing stores that carried them. Anyone who went out of town to do clothes shopping or because their parents worked there would come back with bracelets we couldn't get here, so a little black market popped up. Some kids made a habit of stealing chalk when the teachers weren't looking. After a while they started selling it, charging more for longer and fresher sticks. It ended when someone eventually snitched on a buyer, which started a cascade of counter-snitching. Many pockets were emptied, some with chalk, but most of the dealers had hidden their chalk and got away with it. There was this girl that used to sell candy bars at my school. Her mom would get the big packs at Sam's. She asked me to help her and that's when business started booming. We were making $50-100 a day just hustling in the hallways and in gym. Unfortunately she got caught and they shut us down. This girl Danielle convinced my best friend and I, along with some other people, that she could forever change the taste of saliva in our mouth. So that our saliva would taste like watermelon, cotton candy, bubble gum, etc. forever. She made us wait a couple days so we could really think about what flavor we wanted in our mouth forever. For example, she would tell us, are you sure you always want everything you eat to have a hint of watermelon? Anyways, after a couple days and we picked a flavor, she charged us money. I can't remember how much, but it was probably $0.50 or something. She made us chew on all this crazy stuff like paper clips, erasers, and other things. Obviously our saliva never changed flavor and she stopped this. But I worked at Starbucks a couple years ago in my hometown and she came in and didn't even recognize me, and all I could think about was how that girl had me chewing on paper clips. During elementary school in the 80s many candies weren't individually wrapped for SA-Lin stores, think Warheads etc. I bought bulk packs of candy, didn't matter what kind, although atomic fireballs were my cash cow. I individually packed them, or maybe a couple to a pack depending on the candy. I use those tiny Ziplocs you see people use for drugs. Being around adults a little devoid of scruples, I was able to get those in bulk from a local head shop called High on the Hill. It was a surreal time looking back. I was the only supplier for a year solid in 4th grade. I made so much bank for a 10-year-old it was insane. I would make $100 a week just off of atomic fireballs. The bulk jugs were about $5 or $6 each wholesale, and at a quarter each it worked out to about $60 a jug profit if I recall. Luckily school came easy to me because it was a full-time job keeping stock, packaging product, counting piles of change, budgeting, keeping a bank register. Mom got a separate account that I used for my money, dodging the man, etc. It was turbulent as I never really had a group of friends as a kid, but in the 4th grade I was the fucking man. Going from having no real good friends and having my time divided by either being picked on or ignored to becoming the belle of the ball was surreal. Even at that time I was able to realize what was going on. Their smiles were all fake, their interest was not in me, but rather what was in my bag any given day. Girls were not saying hello because they were being polite or even the least bit interested in talking to me. They were just waiting their turn for their fix. That denim bag got more attention than I ever dreamed of. I was just along for the ride. I had laid the groundwork and provided the blueprint. When the 5th grade started there was competition, but they were weak. They would always sell out or only buy enough to make a few bucks here and there, largely selling lollipops or pre-packed stuff, Hershey's Kisses, Bitto Honey or Tootsie Rolls, whatever they could grab at the store before school. It was amateur hour. They had made a mockery of something I took seriously as a 10/11-year-old can take something. I closed up shop pretty quickly after the school year began. The fast life and fast money was over. The excitement wasn't there, the smiles weren't as big. Kids came to me as a last resort. They bought the popular kids completely out before looking my way. It was like flipping a switch. My first day without the bag I had a few kids ask if I was holding, but once word got around that I was out of the game everything went back to normal. No friends, no conversation, no one to sit with at lunch or on the bus, no one interested, fake or otherwise. It's the first time I had ever really witnessed the dynamic of being disingenuine. I had always been authentic, and after it was all over, I was happy to stay that way. I've never really recounted this time into words. As it turns out, I learned a lot of life lessons in the 4th grade. TL. Dr. I peaked in 4th grade. Please subscribe, leave a like, comment and share the video to help the channel.